Hey guys, Tyler here, and today we're going to be looking at the Renegades and Heretics army for Warhammer 40k 8th edition. The Renegades and Heretics are basically Traitor guardsmen and their vehicles. I wouldn't say it's a super competitive army at the moment, but it's an okay one, and I think it's probably one of the coolest. All the rules for the actual Renegades and Heretics is in the Imperial Armor Index Forces of Astra Militarum. But you basically need that and the new Codex for the Astra Militarum to have all the right rules. I'm making this video right before the new chapter proof comes out, so it's gonna mess with Renegades and Heretics some. There's only one change I know for sure that's going to happen so far. And I'll talk about that when we get to it in a later video. So basically for the series, I'm just gonna start with the general stuff about them, their universal abilities, psychic powers, war gear, and then I'll go on, I'll make a video about their HQs, about their fast attacks, blah 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 blah, and I will do all their options, show them, even if they're in the other codexes. I can switch back and forth and show what's going on. Yeah, but Renegades and Heretics are basically the Traitor Guard, and they're very interesting. So as you can see right here, they can take a lot of the same units that the Imperial Guard can take, and that's because they're just sort of like the bad version of them. Some of the stuff's just like the normal guard stuff, but then some of it is the Forge World stuff. And then hopefully they'll be adding slightly more stuff to what they can take. I recommended they did, but we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully in the next chapter, the chapter proof thing, they'll get more. Especially the Malachoran Furnace. That's what I'm hoping for. Pray for me, guys, okay? Alright, so universal abilities. Their first one, and this isn't even a good ability. This is actually like hinders them. Uncertain Worth. So basically, I'm pretty positive all the units have it, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe like some of the tanks won't have it. I think this type of stuff won't have it, but all like the actual units that are just in this army list going down will have it. And what it is instead of having a normal morale, you have to roll a d6 and add 2 to the leadership. And as it says, it gives you a number between 3 and 8. So basically your guys could have very bad leadership unless you get lucky. And they actually have a lot of pretty decent ways to mitigate this. So it's not really that big of a deal. And I mean, it adds a little bit of flavor, but it really is not good at all. Okay, so the next thing, Chaos Covenant. So this is basically their only complete army-wide trait that they all get. And really, it's not that amazing. Like, it's okay, but you got to do some stuff to even put it in place. So first, you got to have a certain person as your warlord. You have to have a renegade commander as your warlord, or you do not get the Chaos Covenant. So basically, just you have to have a sucky guy as your warlord. You can't have a cool person. I mean, he can be cool, but it's just like a random dude. So you have to have that. So if you're running allies with like Chaos Space Marines or anything like that, you still have to have that guy as your warlord to get these traits for your Renegades and Heretic guys. So you got 4, one of them for each of the Chaos Gods. So the first one you have is Covenant of Khorne. I'll say basically all 3 of them are good and one of them's bad. Basically, the Covenant of Nurgle is worthless. There's really almost no reason to even have it, because it only works against attacks with strength of 4 or less, but most 4 or less stuff doesn't even have any AP, so it doesn't really matter. So it's basically worthless almost, unless you're fighting people with like hotshot las guns or something. Covenant of Khorne is pretty good too. It's okay. It's better if you have a bunch of like melee guardsmen. I would say this is probably the best one for you then. Depending, but I'd say melee guardsmen, this is probably the best one, because any of your infantry guys that charge, they gain +1 to its strength and a turn in which it is charged. So that's pretty good if you have big blobs of guys going in. They go up from 3 to 4, which can be really useful in certain situations. So I already talked about Nurgle, how it's just bad. Third one, I'll say this is probably my favorite one, but that's for a very certain reason. Covenant of Sling Ash. Basically what this one does is you get to roll 3d6 when making a charge and choose the 2 highest, and you get to do the same thing, roll 2 dice when making advanced and choose the higher one. So basically it just makes your dudes faster and it helps guarantee charges. I think this is probably the best one. If you have like a bunch of Ogrins or like big infantry models that want to charge in and kill things, because then this really guarantees you do get your charges in. So I'd say this is the best if you have a bunch of big guys that want to get in. And the last one, and I might say arguably this is the best one overall, and probably the most competitive one, but you have to run a certain army. It's Covenant of Siege. And basically what it does is you hit on 5s when firing Overwatch with your infantry guys. So if you just have a bunch of super cheap guys, 4 points apiece, the Mutant Rabble, which I'll talk about in a different video, they just have good Overwatch then, and it's just pretty decent. Okay. So before I go on the next page, all these types of vehicles and the errated ones, I'll go over them when I get their respective sections. So like for fast attack, I'll do like the Chimera and maybe Hellhounds. I forget what they are. I'll include them then. So I'm not going to include them in this video, but just know I will go over them and if they're good or not also. Okay, so Renegades and Heretics psychic disciplines. I would say they don't really have the best psychic disciplines, but they're okay. And I'll just give a hint of their psychers after I talk about the powers, just so you know what's going on. But I'll also cover them in the video for the HQs. So first one you got Warp Flux, basically Smite, but you always get D6 against vehicles. So I mean it's an okay thing to have. I mean it's pretty good, but it's not that amazing. It's Creeping Terror. As you can see here, they errated it, but it doesn't say what it is instead now. They just crossed it out. So that's 0% helpful. I'm pretty sure it's just the same thing where you cast it and a unit gets D3 subtracted from its leadership value until the end of the turn. I would say that's basically worthless almost, but I don't know. I don't see how it's better than Smite, because no matter what, with Smite you're going to do D3 mortal wounds. So I mean, I don't know what that's even good for. Now here's the one that's a little spicy, okay? Unnatural Vigor. It has a warp charge of 10, so it's rather hard to cast. But like some of the other stuff, these dudes have a way to do it. So if you can cast it, every Renegades and Heretics infantry unit except this unit within 6 rerolls failed charge rolls. So if you click Sling Ash, that's you get the roll 3 dice, pick the 2 highest, and if that fails, do that again. And refailed hit rolls and wound rolls in the fight phase. So basically, even if you have a bunch of sucky dudes, this is going to make them hit a lot harder. And even if you have the super good Ogren guys, still going to make you hit a lot harder. But the problem is, at the end of the morale phase, each affected unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So they're all going to get hit hard. Now you got to be really careful with this though, because a lot of things have the infantry keyword. So if you have random other guys that buff your normal guys, like this guy, Renegade Enforcer. Well, he only has 4 wounds, so if he gets caught in it, he could basically lose all his life since he's his own unit. So it's basically like you want to keep the blob of guys by that so they can get it, but you want to keep the buffing guys away really, or they will get messed up. Okay, and I'll go over their war gear too. Oh wait, no. I gotta go over the Psychers real quick. So the only 2 Psychers these guys have is the Malefic Lord, which I do know is going to be nerfed with the chapter approved. instead of just making it so only these guys can take them, which would make 100% sense, or just something so that normal Chaos people couldn't abuse them and we could still use them, the Chaos and Renegades people. No, they just nerfed him and they like more than doubled his points. They made him go up from like 30 to 80, which is just stupid. Because there's basically no point to take him over the Rogue Psyker Coven now, besides the fact that I think they can get shot even if they're behind people, while this guy couldn't. Yeah. So he used to be really good, and then they just decided to nerf him well, he was too powerful for his point cost, but they didn't have to make him be 80. And he would have been good if he was just in these guys' army, because they need it. So basically, he's just a Psyker, 6, 4, 4, 3, 4, 4, 3, 8. So I mean, he's pretty good for 30 points. He was, but now he's 80, so he's not as good. But basically, just has a garbage attack, which really he would have anyways. So I think they just decided to give him something. So he basically has no weapons. 4+ invulnerable save is good. And just a weird thing he can do. If he suffers perils of the warp and survives, which I think he could survive no matter what, not 100% sure. He hits on 2+, then he has 8 strength and gains 2 more attacks, and he gets -2 to his hits and 2 damage. So if this happens, he's going to be hurt, but he basically turns into just a little demon prince or something, then just goes around and punches people. He gets 1 psychic power a turn, and he can attempt to deny 1 each enemy phase, and he knows Smite and 2 psychic powers from the Renegades and Heretics discipline. So basically, he was just really good because you could just spam him and cast Smite. But now these guys are only 20 more points than him, and they have way more wounds, and they have a really unique ability that basically helps you get off the 1 psychic power that's really good that the Renegades and Heretics have. So Rogue Psyker Coven, you get 5 dudes. They're only toughness 3 compared to his toughness 4 above, but they have 3 wounds and 5+ invulnerable save. So pretty okay unit. A little expensive, but here's their thing they can do though. When you do a psychic test, you can roll 3d6. So it's not pick 2 and discard the lowest. I mean, roll 3, discard the lowest one. No, you just get to roll straight 3. So this helps you get that 10 way easier. But if you do that, they suffer D3 runes afterwards, and if all the dudes die, then it automatically failed. But these are the ones who will get you that unnatural vigor to get your guys to go beat people up easier. They get to manifest 1 psychic power, psychic phase, attempt to deny 1, smite, and only 1 other psychic power, these guys now. And they have a little bit of special rules. But yeah, so that's the first video, just covering all their basic stuff. Well, actually, no, I'm going to talk about the war gear real quick. So really, I feel it was sort of a missed opportunity for the Renegades and Heretics, because certain guns they have are basically the same thing with no difference in stats. Because you have the auto gun, which it doesn't say here. But yeah, so they can take the auto gun, the las gun, which are the same thing, even though one shoots like, the las, the laser stuff, while the other one actually shoots just like normal bullets. That's what the auto gun is. And then you also have, I think, auto pistols and stub guns, which are just like stub pistols. And all of those are the same thing as the las pistol too. They just have different names and they look different, but there's nothing different about them. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that's the same, even though it has different names. So you have the bolt pistol, which I think actually is different. That's the one that's strength 4. You have the las pistol, which is 3. Then you got the plasma pistol. We all know what that does. Special weapons: flamer, grenade launcher, melt-a-gun, plasma gun, sniper rifle. I'm pretty positive these. And you can only use these with the Marauders, which will be in the Elite video. But I'm pretty positive that's the only way you can get sniper rifles in a Chaos Force is by taking those Marauders. The Marauders are really good if you run them a certain way. So stay tuned in for that video, am I right? Heavy weapons: autocannon, heavy bolter, heavy stubber, las cannon, missile launcher, mortar. Pretty positive you have to take heavy weapons teams for those. And then melee weapons: brutal assault weapon just lets you attack twice. Another one where they just double up. Chainsword and brutal assault weapon are the same thing. They could have did something different, but they didn't. They just were lazy. Power Axe, Power Maul, Power Sword, Power Fist. All those are different, though. Those all do special things. But yeah, so that's the end of my first video on these guys. If you got any recommendations or comments, let me know, and I'll appreciate it. And stay tuned in for more. One thing I should add, I haven't actually got to play with these guys yet. I'm amassing a pretty big force of them right now. But I will, in the future, make videos of me playing mine once I get them painted and everything. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hope you found the video helpful.